Hello everyone, I'm Brawler1322 and welcome to another recap video for the third season of the Multi-Class Endurance Championship. This is round 6 and we were back on Blaine County 24 hours for this round. We were driving the off-roads class, and in GT1 we had the Brawler, GT2 we had the Bodhi, and in GT3 we had the Guardian. So there was a 40% chance of rain for this race. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, for the PC side we're not doing these draws for the rain anymore, so the PC side was guaranteed to be dry, but the Xbox One side and the PS4 side we did the draw before the race, and both of them came up as rain races. Obviously with a 40% chance of rain you would have expected one of them to maybe come up as a rain race, but for both of them to come up as a rain race was quite interesting, and it threw up some interesting aspects to the races, because especially in GT1 the Brawler's brakes aren't that great, and they certainly take a little bit of getting used to, and if you completely put your finger all the way down on the trigger when you're braking with something like the Brawler, you'll just lock up the wheels and you'll just keep going in a straight line. So there is a bit of a difficulty curve there when it comes to the Brawler in particular, and in the rain that was even more apparent. There were a lot more that you had to do to get the Brawler to stop in rain, because obviously the grip levels are a lot lower as well. So it was very, very difficult, and as you saw probably in the Xbox One race on the very first corner, I locked my brakes straight away and went straight on, and that was even braking earlier than what I normally would, because I was aware that it was the first corner and it was raining. So it obviously rain, nobody ever knows when the rain is going to be come up during the race, and that was the whole point of doing rain races where there's a certain chance of rain. That's why we did it, because we didn't want it such that you could sort of just practice in one condition all the way through. Obviously there are some races, there's 5 races throughout the course of the championship that are guaranteed to be in clear conditions, but for the other 5 I wanted to have it so that there was a bit of a percentage chance of rain, and you never quite knew until the race started whether there was going to be rain or not. So you can either put in the practice on both, or not put in the practice at all, or whatever you want to do, but it throws in that uncertainty, and I think it has been somewhat successful during this season to give us some different results in some different races that otherwise may have been quite boring. So we'll start, obviously, as always, we'll start with the Xbox One side, because that's always the first race that happens every weekend. The GT1 side for the Xbox One was completely dominated by Calavera. He made his return to the championship. He was obviously in the first 2 rounds, but then took a break in rounds 3, 4 and 5, and made his return to the championship this round, and he got that win by quite a large margin. He was a good 2 seconds ahead of everyone else in terms of best lap time. He was a far and away the winner, so that was great to see him come back to the championship and get as I mentioned in the previous episode, it's good to see people who deserve a victory get a victory, even if it's not sort of, they're not winning multiple races or anything like that. There's people who certainly deserve at least one victory, and it's good to see people getting that, and he's certainly one of them. But he's going to be playing a part near the front of the field for the rest of the races. That's an absolute guarantee. I wish I was one of those who was getting those wins, because I would like a win on Xbox One and PS4, as I've mentioned before, but hey, what can you do? I managed to come in second place in the Xbox One side, and after it was a good little battle there in the middle of the race. It was quite a boring race overall. I got into 3rd place on the first corner, and I pretty much kept 3rd place for a long time until 2nd place Nicholas RO13 made a mistake. I got into 2nd place, then kept 2nd place for a long time. There was a slight incident with a GT2 car where I got taken out, and then there was a little bit of a battle again for 2nd place, but ultimately it was a pretty boring race, and I was quite happy about that. Too often my races this season have been all about incidents and getting caught up with incidents, having to come back through the pack, or just being in a decent position and giving it away. So it was nice to have a boring race where I just kept 2nd place for the majority of the time, made no mistakes, no incidents, and yeah, just had a good solid result, and it was nice and refreshing to have that. Obviously, as I mentioned, Nicholas R13 came in 3rd place, and Blue Eyed Malice came in 4th place. He's had a much better second half of the season than he did the first half of the season. That's true. That's certainly the case. He got a 6th place, a 7th place, and an 8th place in the first 3 races. But since then, he's sort of picked it up, and he's got some good results with a podium and some 3rds and 4ths as well. He kind of shows that you shouldn't really give up in these championships, because you can always do better and always improve your performances, and he's certainly done that. Now we'll move on to the GT2 side for Xbox One, and this was won by Trumpet Master ahead of King Blaze. King Blaze had the pace in this one. He had the best lap time by I think over a second, but Trumpet Master I believe led from start to finish. Trumpet Master was exactly the same team as Calavera, the Preservex team. They started on pole position, so obviously starting on pole position allows you to miss all of the carnage at the start. It allows you to get away, as long as you get away well and do a good start, then you can set yourself up for a good race. And we saw that in GT1 with Calavera getting the win, and the same, his teammate in GT2 got the win as well. Trumpet Master put in a really good performance, and it was very close between those two right at the end, but ultimately the Trumpet Master was able to hold out. But interesting to see that there's that closeness there, and that was Trumpet Master's first win of the season as well. In 3rd place was Blodia X5, who's still currently topping the championship, but as I've mentioned before, the GT2 championship is going to be interesting when everybody gets all of the scores at the end of the season, because there's quite a few missed rounds at the minute and dropped rounds that will come into play later on in the season. So obviously I'll talk more about the championship later on in future videos. Now for GT3, on the Xbox One side, Wolfie Bigtail got his 2nd win of the season. He had a win in round 1 on Blaine County. He obviously loves Blaine County because he got his first win of the season in round 1 on Blaine County, and he's done the same again for round 6. Ahead of Squillum 93 in 2nd place and Ducati Doctor in 3rd place. Those 3 look to be the 3 title contenders as well, I would say. Obviously we'll wait and see when dropped rounds come into effect, but those 3 seem to be sharing the majority of the podium places, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out. But Wolfie Bigtail was a big lead winner in round 6 and had a huge lead by the end of the race. Now we'll move on to the PC side, and GT1 for PC was unbelievable. I mean, there were 3 guys who I would say, apart from also Super Stepper, who's very quick as well, he's had a few low scoring rounds which will hopefully be dropped later on. I think the PC side is probably going to be a 4-way battle for the title, and 3 of those contenders were pretty much battling all the way through this round on Blaine County 24 Hours in the Brawlers. They were, I don't think, any more than 5 seconds apart throughout the entirety of the race. Actually, I say that Fab Iceman was quite far ahead at one point, and I'm not sure whether he made a mistake or got caught up with traffic, but from that point on, there was him, Doom Penguin in 2nd place, and Avivo Jr. in 3rd place, and they were pretty much keeping those positions all the way through. You saw from the highlights video probably, and if you want to check out the highlights videos from my perspective on all of these races, they're all linked down below in the description with a lot of other information as well. But yeah, they came past me a couple of times, and they were just so close all the way through, and ultimately it was all decided on the very final lap, which was absolutely crazy. We had Fab Iceman in 1st place, we had Doom Penguin in 2nd, and Avivo in 3rd. Going into the sort of the long hairpin, and I'll show the footage of this from Avivo's perspective. Fab Iceman hits the tyre barrier on the inside of the exit of that, and Doom Penguin gets caught up in it. Obviously they were very close together. Doom was pressuring Fab Iceman, and he made that mistake, hit the barrier on the inside, and ultimately Avivo, who had been in 3rd place all the way through, just keeping a watching brief over all of this, he ended up taking the win because of that. Doom Penguin kept his 2nd place, and Fab Iceman unfortunately came home in 3rd after leading pretty much the majority of the race. So pretty crazy how close it was in that GT1 battle. and it's going to be interesting to see how the championship unfolds between the 4 main title contenders there. In GT2 we had Mountain Man take the win. Mountain Man is also Jed1A on PS4. You may have seen his name every now and again, or you see it on the spreadsheet. Again, the spreadsheet with all the results and title standings and everything like that is all in the description, and it's always in the first line of the description of all of these MCEC videos. But Mountain Man got his first win of the season. He only came into the championship in round 5, so it's probably unlikely that he's going to be able to challenge for the GT2 title, because he's going to have dropped one more round than everybody else. But he could end up finishing in second place if he puts in some good results, and he certainly seems to be doing very well, beating the previous best guy in GT2, who was MCEC, who came in second place in this race. I think Mountain Man had quite a large lead by the end of the race, but MCEC, I think he was catching as well, but just didn't have enough time to obviously catch up. And we had the bad loser come home in third place, but I think you saw on the highlights video from my perspective that the GT2 field were very, very close together at certain points during that race, and it just absolutely crazy that we have so many people in one class all be so close together pretty much for the majority of the way through the race. And MCEC is still in the lead of the GT2 championship at the moment, but it will be interesting to see if anybody can take some points off him and possibly overhaul him. It might be difficult, but we will see. Now, when it comes to the GT3 side, I came in third place here, but I was significantly far away from Thronebreaker and John. John got his first win of the season, which was a much-deserved win after he really should have had a win in round 4 on the Los Santos Grand Prix in compacts, but that was the mass disconnections, and he disconnected near the end after being in a huge lead. He managed to work his way through the field, get ahead of Thronebreaker, who was in the lead for some part of the race, and take home a good victory, so well done to him. I was in pretty much a lonely third place. I had some really interesting and really good battles, I would say, during the course of the race, and I quite enjoyed some of it. I did have a lot of mistakes as well, but you know, the whole purpose of balancing my performance this season has been that I don't want to just win every race, and that was always the case at the start, because you know we put the slower drivers in GT3, but I think it's gradually becoming more and more apparent that especially Thronebreaker and John are quick, you know, they're good drivers, and me not practicing in the vehicles and just going into each of these races completely cold is proving to be kind of enough of a handicap on its own. I don't need to remove the turbo of my cars or remove the transmission or whatever, because I'm going into these races completely cold with no practice of the car at all. I'm making mistakes, so that is being a handicap all on its own, and I think for maybe the last few rounds of the season I'll stop handicapping myself, and we'll see how I do just on a basic level against Thronebreaker and John, who have certainly improved their performances and should be you know, very, very difficult opponents to beat, even when I'm not handicapping myself. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, but obviously those two put in some very solid performances for round 6. And in GT3 in general, there were some really good battles there with the other guys like Prutug and Dark Alex. We had some really, really fun and interesting and intense battles, so that was really fun to participate in, and that balance of performance came in there to allow me to do that. Now we'll move on to the PS4 side. GT1 for the PS4 was dominated by Smithy112. We actually had Calavera who come in second place there. Obviously, as you heard me mention, Calavera won the Xbox One race, but he also has a PS4 as well, and he was a reserve driver for this round. He came in second place behind Smithy, so it shows that, you know, the best of Xbox One can hang with the best of PS4. It's all no one platform has quicker drivers than another platform. It's all the same. He was battling for a long time with Doodle Monopoly, who came in third place, putting in is equaling his best performance of the season, Doodle. So nice to see him up there again. I don't think there was anything really that much interesting going on in GT1 from what I can recall on the PS4 side. But then again, my performance meant that I was completely disconnected from the race, to be honest, and not really paying attention to what was going on around me. Elmister put in his best performance of the season to come home in 4th place though, and Neymar put in another solid performance to come in 5th. So the GT1 side at the minute looks to be getting a little bit dominated by Smithy. Picano ended up in 6th place in round 6 for that race. That was his second worst result of the season, but he will be hoping to get some better results in rounds 8, 9 and 10 and 7 as well, to sort of get rid of those low results. So there's still a chance that he can challenge for the title, but Smithy has 3 wins as of round 6, so he's putting in really solid performances and staking a claim to that GT1 championship. Now for GT2, Abe Gunners got his 3rd win of the season for round 6. That was a really good performance from him because he had to catch up to Evil, who Evil was in the lead for a lot of the time during this round, and he put in his best performance of the season to finish in 2nd place, and he was in the lead for a lot of the time, but Abe just had that pace advantage. He was making mistakes, but he was able to then catch up, and he got that win. So he gets his 3rd win of the season, and he's doing very well in GT2. Evil, as I mentioned, came home in 2nd, and Tom Tad came home in 3rd place. Another good performance from him, as you would expect. My performance in this round was so annoying. I'm sure you heard me talk about it in the highlights video, because I was quicker than everybody in this race apart from Abe. I would say I was just making far too many mistakes. Tom Tad, who previously I'd mentioned was way too quick and I could do nothing about, I put a good overtake on him, and I was able to consistently catch up. I had the pace, and I was able to handle the Bodhi very well around the track and get the lap times from it, but I was just making far too many mistakes, and sort of once one mistake creeps in, another one creeps in, and you just start thinking about all the missed opportunities throughout the course of the race. And I actually ended up finishing down in 7th place, which was my worst result of the season, and I think that's also my worst result in any multi-class endurance championship race ever. The worst performance that I ever had previously to this was in season 1. It was in the supercars on Los Santos Grand Prix in the rain, on the Xbox 360, and I finished in 6th place, I believe, from what I can remember. And I think this has to beat that as my worst performance ever. I was just so down on myself as well. It really was the lowest of the low, and that is the lowest point, that the worst race I've ever had, and the lowest point I've ever been in any of these championships. And I think it's just all starting to catch up to me, doing 3 of these championships all in one go. It's very tough, and I'm starting to lose that ability to do anything decent and the motivation to put in good performances. But there's still 4 rounds to go after this video, so we're gonna battle it out and see what we can do, and hopefully maybe sneak a win with any luck anyway, because I would really like that. Now for GT3, for the PS4 side, Junty 500 came home in first place here, with Drubert a good 2nd place, equaling his best result of the season. Unfortunately, 40, who is our championship leader and main championship title contender, he disconnected. He actually didn't disconnect in the first half of the race, but he did in the second half of the race. Same for AJ Axel 10 as well, which was a big shame. Obviously, we had the mass disconnection in the middle of the race once again, which was really annoying. But as I mentioned during the highlights video, it didn't seem to affect the results at any point. The winners stayed the winners. The winners after the first half of the race, if you like, stayed the winners at the second half of the race, and the results in general stayed the same. So not too bad in that respect. But it was just a little bit annoying having to do the red flag and come back, and certainly from my perspective as well, I thought I had another chance, a second bite of the cherry to put my pace into action, and yeah, again I messed it up even more. But yeah, a great drive from John T. Gets his first win of the season. A really, really good performance to get that win. And I think that might be right in saying that's his first win since season 1 of this championship. So, you know, really good to see him back up there getting a victory. And he was a standout winner, you know, led from pretty much start to finish, I would say. Drew, as I mentioned, good performance for second. And I'm Awesome put in another good performance to equal his best result of the season to come home in third. With Vachuro in fourth. So putting in some good points for the Ron Racing team on PS4, and we are still sort of in with a shout of trying to get that championship, that team's championship that Ron Racing have never actually had. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for round 6. From round 7 onwards, we will have, because basically the championship, it works on your total points are your best 7 results. So from round 7 onwards, the points will make sense in terms of what people can get and what people have gotten. So I'm going to show the championship standings from round 7 onwards and update for round 8, 9 and obviously the final round of the season. So yeah, there are 4 more rounds to go, 4 more videos, 4 more recap videos, which is basically 16 more videos in total with all the highlights. Still a lot of work to go, still a lot of racing to do. You know, for me, that's still 18 hours of racing that I've still got to go through for the rest of the championship. But you know, let's try and finish with a bang. And I think I hope you guys are still enjoying the videos and still enjoying the championship. And there are some interesting championship battles that are going to be taking place across all platforms and all championships, so I will highlight those as we go through. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Let me know all your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.